Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. And today we have, for Halloween, the adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. It's an hour and 9 minutes long, and it's from 1949, and I've been lied to. Okay, I figured I'd pick this for Halloween. Didn't make it random. Made it at least somewhat Halloweeny. Yeah, okay. This is not my fault. It okay. This features, by the way, before I get into that, this features two different stories. It's in the hour and 9 minutes. The first one is basically a piece of The Wind in the Willows featuring Mr. Toad and his pals. He's a bit of a psychotic rich boy who follows the latest fad. He's an early adopter, and he pretty much goes for the hottest, craziest new thing. And in this story, it happens to be motor cars, as you would know probably if you'd ever ridden Mr. Toad's Wild Ride at Disneyland. Now, I had never seen that part of this before. So I have a whole lot more understanding of the whole Mr. Toad's Wild ride. So it's kind of great to have kind of a perspective and now a little deeper understanding of everything that goes on in the brain of Mr. Toad and why the ride is so beloved, and one of the last classics, one of the oldest and least changed, I think, of all the rides that have been around since the 50s or 60s in Disneyland. I have not gone to Disneyland into the park in a year and a half, so I'm looking forward to riding it again at some point and finally connecting all the dots. The second half, which I kind of knew that first one wasn't going to be very spooky, Halloweeny. The second half is the adventure of Ichabod Crane, who you would know from The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. You've seen Tim Burton's version probably with Johnny Depp and, her. Cute, big eyes. Anyway, my brain is not working tonight. And I've seen the Headless Horseman scene repeatedly. A friend of mine, every every Halloween, I'm kidding, Nightmare Before Christmas mixed in here. Every Halloween, a friend of mine has a tradition to watch the Sleepy Hollow part of this film. This classic 1949 World War II era, well, post war era uh, film for Halloween. And I guess I just didn't realize that how much he sort of skipped over. He didn't just skip over the Mr. Toad stuff. He skipped over a whole bunch of stuff about Ichabod Crane, the build up, the build up, the build up. By the way, the first 35 minutes or so is the Mr. Toad story, and then after about 35 minutes, Bing Crosby takes over and he narrates and provides a singing voice for Ichabod. And none of it is spooky. None of it is the least bit Halloweeny until there's about 8 minutes left in the film. 8, 9 minutes. It's when the it's when Ichabod's paranoia and belief in spooky things gets in his head, and he gets a little delusional. But he is being chased by the Headless Horseman, isn't he? I don't know. I have to admit, it's a gorgeous piece. It's so beautifully animated. The colors are so bright. I shouldn't say bright. They're full. They're just it looks astounding. The way everything is drawn and painted and colored, it is so great. And I understand why my friend watches it every year. It's just that 90% of the story, okay, 75% of the story is just talking about Ichabod Crane and how he loves food, and he's a school teacher, a schoolmaster. He looks odd, he acts odd, but his singing voice and his ability to manipulate people, specifically, he stays on good terms with his students because they might have parents or moms, certainly not the men, moms who will cook him dinner, and he loves to eat. Despite his very lanky, tall, thin frame, the man can put away a lot of food. He pockets it and then eats it later at bedtime. He's sneaking pies while he dances, especially with the Katrina uh, Tassel. Damn it. Anyway, her, that pretty girl, right there. The only thing he loves more than food is her, and well, love is kind of a strong word. He is definitely attracted to her, like she's a prime rib. But beyond that, he knows that her dad is super rich, and he won't be around for much longer. So if he courts her, he will have access to all of his money, his wealth. He's the richest farmer in all the land, and yeah. So Ichabod's not necessarily a great guy. He's just sort of greedy and a little selfish and manipulative and everything else. And he's goes up against this big brawny dude, Brom, I think. He goes up against this guy for her hand, along with every other guy in town. She walks in. There's plenty of other pretty girls in town, but none like her. And he and everybody just goes nuts for her, and she's drawn very attractively. She's got all the curves, so yeah, it's understandable. But while Brahm, he figured, would be just the big bully and the jerk, and he doesn't treat Ichabod very very well. They are two very different men, and they compete for her attention. And Ichabod is in the lead because he knows how to dance. He's very gentlemanly. He's intelligent. He's seemingly kind. And Brahm gets knocked around oddly. You figure he's the bully. You figure he's the heavy who would just. Yes, he does attack and try to harm Ichabod time to time, but Ichabod still gets the upper hand until one night when Brahm comes up with a plan to mess with Ichabod's head, knowing that he has a fear of the supernatural and everything else. Well, Brahm tells a scary story of the Headless Horseman. And on Ichabod's ride home, guess what? Guess who he meets? Is it real? Is it in his head? Well, you'll have to watch to find out. You can make up your own mind. So, yeah, it's again, that whole sequence, that whole beautiful, crazy, Halloweeny, spooky sequence is less than 8 minutes long, and it's at the very end of the film. So if you want to skip ahead like my friend does, and I thought he was showing me the whole thing all these years, maybe he was, and I just didn't pay attention. I have no idea. It's been a while since we've watched it together, so he now watches it with his kids. So yeah, if you just skip right to the 8 minute mark. But hey, watch the first part too if you're interested. If you've never seen it and you've ridden Mr. Toad's Wild Ride and you're like, why is this ride still here? And yes, it's all nostalgia and it's supposed to be there. And if people would burn my place down if they knew that I was saying that there was a ride that's outdated at Disneyland. It's kind of really outdated. It's the only. I mean, you got to think about this. Disneyland rides, for the most part, are mostly all horror stories. The Snow White ride, Peter Pan's not so much horror, but it is about little boys who get kidnapped and attacked by a pirate. The Hook. Alice in Wonderland is also just freaky deaky. But Mr. Toad's Wild Ride is the only ride, I'm pretty sure, outside of the Halloween time, the only ride in any amusement park anywhere, any theme park anywhere, that features you driving in a car, crashing into things, getting arrested, getting executed, and then going to hell. That's how it ends. So, yeah, have fun, kids. Welcome to Disneyland. You're going to hell. So yeah, this puts a nice little bit of context in all of this, and this is just the Mr. Toad portion is a very small part of the greater Wind in the Willows story, and so it's just a piece. Whereas I mean, the story of Ichabod Crane is obviously a little bit more than just Legend of Sleepy Hollow, I guess. it's a little bit disappointing, I have to admit, that it wasn't more. But what can you do? Oh, wait, yeah, Tim Burton did something with that. Christine Ricci, that's who I was thinking of. Christine Ricci from Addams Family and everything else. Pan Am. Remember that show? Christina Ricci in Tim Burton's Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Or just Sleepy Hollow. There's been multiple iterations of that story. So, anyway, yeah, that's what I got for Halloween. Sorry it wasn't spookier. But, at 8 minutes, it's worth it. It's some really good stuff. It's some classic stuff. Okay, so I'm not doing a random pick for tomorrow either. I am doing it. It's November 1st tomorrow, and I'm gonna finally watch something that I've been meaning to watch for a long, long time. It's Pixar, and there's no reason why I shouldn't have watched it by now. I even have the Blu-ray already. I bought it when it came out. I never sat down and watched it because I know that it's an emotional roller coaster, and it can be very difficult on just a big tough guy's heart. Like me. So, yeah, we're going to watch Coco tomorrow. Coco on the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. I'll see you back here tomorrow with that. Bye.